Hello, everyone. I'm Dijon,
I'm Amir.
and welcome to the Mustardcast, the podcast about the art of storytelling and how it's used across different mediums. Make sure that you like,
Why were
comment,
you pointing for so long?
if you want to see our channel grow, and click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post. Why did I what?
You were pointing for so long. You were pointing for like 5 seconds after I already said it.
No, because for me, it took you longer to say it.
On my end, I said it immediately, and then you were like,
Um,
okay. And I was like, wait, what?
so what media have you been consuming, Amir?
We were just talking about this on podcast. Been playing Bloodborne. Like the most painful experience of my life. I've been playing Shadow of the Tomb Raider because it's free on PlayStation Plus. And I started listening to the audiobook for Lies of Locke Lamora. I really like it. This may be my new favorite book, like, of all time. Not better than Percy Jackson. Nothing will ever dethrone Percy Jackson for me, but it's definitely a close second. I really like the series. There's 3 books in the series so far. They're coming up with the 4th one. I'm only on the 1st one. I think you would really like it. I really think you would like it, Deshaun.
Isn't there a Percy Jackson show being made?
Oh, yeah, no, there's a Percy Jackson show being made, which I'm very excited for. Like, incredibly excited for. I don't know when that's going to come out. I hope it comes out soon. Also, I just bought Call of Cthulhu like 30 minutes ago. So that's like the startup screen is on my TV right now, and I'm very excited to start it up. So that's what I'm doing as soon as it's over.
Didn't you say you also
But yeah,
Bloodborne?
yeah.
So
But yeah, read Lies of Locke Lamora. That's all I got to say.
So what I've been consuming, I finished the second season of Haikyuu. Only the first 2 seasons are on Netflix. This 3rd and 4th are on Crunchyroll, so I'll watch those another time. Been watching Attack on Titan, the final season, as well as rereading the manga from the point that season 4 starts, because I just couldn't wait for episodes, which I'm just remembering that an episode released today, and I'm going to watch that immediately after this. I played the game for the first time this year on my PlayStation. I played Spider-Man Miles Morales. Again, that game is just so fun. I didn't even play it for that long. I played it for like 10 minutes. I didn't get a trophy. I got one step closer to a trophy, which was to do all of the like little challenges that go along with each crime. And I finally was able to do the one for the vehicle chase, hijack chase, where you have to do it without getting damaged. And basically, Miles' spider sense just wouldn't pop up when they shoot me. So I wouldn't be able to dodge it. So I would always end up taking damage. But I finally did it without taking damage. And then the next time I played it, I got the trophy for doing all of the crimes. But yeah, I was just swinging around for like 7 minutes and never lost momentum. I was just having fun. I was having a good time. I was smiling. I was laughing. It was like the most fun I've ever had sitting there playing a game. And that was my first time playing a game this year. So that was off to a good start. I was watching the final season of She-Ra because I had stopped watching it at like the beginning of that final season. So I'm probably going to finish that up soon. There's a show on Netflix called The History of Swear Words, hosted by Nicolas Cage. That is really good.
Yeah.
Initially, I was like,
I haven't seen it yet, but I want to.
Yeah, I was like, it should have been Sam Jackson, but Nick Cage did a really good job. He was great. He was perfect for it, actually. I was watching The Dragon Prince, which is a show that I am surprised I never watched before, because the 2 creators of the show, the hit
Avatar: The Last Airbender.
One of them was the hit writer of Aaron Ehasz, who I know him by name because I watched like all of the behind the scenes and clips on the DVD of Avatar and the audio commentary. And the other co-creator is I'm mad that I'm forgetting his name, but he worked on second Uncharted, and he was the director of Uncharted 3. So literally the hit writer of my favorite cartoon of all time, and the person that worked on my favorite video game series of all time. So it's weird that I never watched this show until now, but it's great. It's actually really short. It's only 9 episodes per season. There's only 3 seasons. So yeah, it's been really good. I'm like on the 2nd episode of the last season. I also watched Ringo for the first time on Netflix. That movie's good. The one with the lizard, for people who, if you don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah, that movie's good. You guys should check it out. It's on Netflix. I also watched Tombstone, another cowboy movie. The movie is fantastic. The first time I saw it, I didn't technically see it. I watched people this YouTube group react to it, and it was so good that I was like, okay, now I need to watch it. And that was months ago though, but I never ended up watching it. But I decided to rewatch their reaction. As soon as I watched like the first 2 minutes of the reaction, I was like, I'm gonna pause this and just go watch the movie, and then I'll come back and watch the reaction. The movie is really good. Val Kilmer plays a character named Doc Holliday, and he is so quotable. That character in that movie is so quotable. It's well worth the watch, and it's inspired me to do another kind of talk about Westerns on the podcast. Not this episode, because we're already going to be talking about so much stuff on this episode. I didn't want to add something else that was going to be long-winded. I've been watching and consuming a lot of media, so as you can tell, I've been listening to a lot of things. The very last thing we're going to talk about for a little bit is WandaVision. WandaVision. It's finally out. Came out Friday, 15th. Have you seen it?
I did.
Yeah. First 2 episodes
It actually was not that bad.
Yeah. I didn't think it would be bad. I know you were a bit what was it? Cautiously optimistic. You were interested, but you weren't necessarily like hype. You were just interested. But yeah, it is not
Yeah,
bad.
I'm not a fan of either character, so I wasn't really I was not super excited about this, but I don't know, I thought it was pretty fun. And it was actually pretty funny, which I was not expecting. It was actually a lot funnier than I was expecting.
Yeah, the second episode, in my opinion, was funnier than the first one. That magic acting was pretty funny. And they added just a little bit of like creepiness and hints to what's really going on every now and again. And it's clearly going to be like a slow build of them they're clearly going through the generations of like sitcoms, and they're going to slowly be trailing little hints. If anybody has watched literally any of the trailers, and I've watched every trailer, you can kind of piece things together because they show a bunch of scenes that are definitely, I'm not going to say what they are, but yeah. Have you seen any of the trailers? You kind of understand that it's not all going to be sitcom. So yeah, I don't want to talk too much about that because it just came out. So let's leave that to mystery for people to watch. We'll talk about it a little bit later. So you said that you started to watch Soul, but you didn't finish it. Have you finished it, or did you still not finish it?
Still no.
Well, since you've seen a little,
I did not, because I can't take the movie seriously.
We're still going to talk about it because, into the animation portion. So, review. That movie was great. It was fantastic. And I have a quote from a person who I was on a podcast with that I mentioned, I think either the last episode or episode before that. His YouTube channel is called This Episode Is About. I was talking about how Soul didn't feel like how Pixar movies usually feel, which is like children's movies that adults can also enjoy. He basically said, let me see if I can find the exact quote. He said, Soul feels like the opposite of what they usually do. Instead of kids movies that adults can like and enjoy, it's a movie for adults that kids can handle and sit through. And he is absolutely right, because there are so many jokes, and even the premise, and like, children's movies have like a lesson to be told at the end of it. The one in this one was so abstract and obscure, a kid would never understand it. This movie was not made for a kid to understand. This movie was made for adults to understand and sympathize with, and for kids to be able to just enjoy without really understanding it. Because there are so many jokes a kid wouldn't understand as well. It's just, this movie doesn't feel like it was made for a kid, for adults to enjoy. It was made for adults, and kids can enjoy it as well. There was one problem that a lot of people had with the movie that, well, first, let me talk about my initial problem that I had and why I wasn't going to watch it until I started to hear some of the reviews, the positive reviews. And it was because I was immediately like, and I still agree with this. I should have said spoiler alert at the beginning, but I haven't spoiled anything yet, but I'm about to spoil it. But I don't like the idea of like a black character not being able to exist in their own skin. They always turn into some animal. In this case, he turns into both a soul and an animal. So I'm like, bro, why can't he just be black for like the entirety of the movie? I want a character like, magical stuff can still happen, but they can still look like this with their magical abilities and stuff like that. Like, they don't have to transform into a completely different creature. Um, that was my biggest problem. But other than that, another problem people were having was that they felt like there's a character named 22 who is a soul. Um, and basically, when he goes to try and get back into his body, his soul goes into a body of a therapy cat while his body's in hospital, and 22 goes into his body. And the problem people had was they felt like it was like a white person going into his body and living a better life than he did, when that wasn't the case. Because 22 is a genderless, raceless soul. Even though she's voiced by a white woman, they literally make a joke about it, saying that the reason she uses a white woman's voice is because it's annoying and she does it to annoy people. Like the idea isn't like she's supposed to be a white woman in a black person's body. She's supposed to be this random soul. What's the word? Why does this always happen? I forget words and names. Speaking. She's supposed to be experiencing, that's the word I'm looking for, experiencing life for the first time because she's been avoiding it for thousands of years. Well, I think she said exactly 1,000 years. I'm saying she, but it doesn't have a gender. They have been avoiding it for thousands of years. And it wasn't that they were living his life better than him. It's that they made it clear that his focus all the time, no matter what, was always music. And that way he felt like that was his purpose. So he never asked anyone else about themselves. Whenever he had a conversation with someone, it was always about music. Even several of the characters say that. But 22, because I keep saying she, they are so curious, and this is their first time on Earth, they ask people questions, and they ask people about themselves. And because of that, people are being a bit more open to Joe, because this is the first time he's asked them about themselves. And the first time he sat down and tried to understand them, rather than him just telling them all about himself. The only people, and those were people that he's cool with, but not necessarily really close to. But when it comes to all the people that he's really close to, like his mom and her friends, he took control and told 22 what to say. 22 didn't go in there and like fix the situation like she did with the two other characters. With those three people, he took control because those are people he knows and he knows how to talk to. And that situation was resolved because of what he said, not because of what 22 did or said. But yeah, that's all I have to say about that movie. Other than that, it's just really good. I disagree with that criticism, like I just said. And my only criticism is that, whenever they make another black movie, a Pixar movie starring a black person, don't turn them into an animal or a soul or something else. Just let them be black. Let them be black. You don't have to turn them into a creature. Just let them exist in their own skin. But yeah, so moving on from that, you're super quiet. We're going to move on to something that you're going to talk to. Have you read?
Because I haven't finished the movie, so I have nothing to say about it.
I technically didn't really spoil much, so yeah, you're good. We're going to go into comics. Have you read any of the Future State comics?
I read all of them, actually.
Okay, good. You read all of them. I read two of them. I read two of them and watched two videos on the two Batman titles. I read the two that interested me the most. I read, which was Wonder Woman and Justice League. So far, I'm liking Yara Flor as Wonder Woman. She's interesting. She's very.
Oh yeah, she's awesome. I really like her.
Very brash in comparison to Diana. She's very aggressive in her approach. She likes to do things by force. And so far in the story, spoiler alert again, we're gonna spoil everything we've read so far. She's like going to Hades to get her sister back, and she's also going there to fight Hades himself, which is interesting. I'm excited to see that goes. Also, her design is gorgeous. It looks great.
Oh yeah.
The art in that comic itself is just, it's great. In Justice League, the team in Justice League Future State consists of Jonathan Kent, Yara Flor, Jonathan Kent Superman, obviously, Yara Flor, Wonder Woman, Tim Fox is Batman, Joe Million as Green Lantern, Andy Curry as Aquawoman, and Jess Chambers as The Flash. So, out of those, I actually coincidentally was reading up on Joe Million, Green Lantern, just randomly because I think I just saw like a drawing of her and I just like the way she's designed and I wanted to learn a little bit more about her. Most definitely it was because I was like, oh, a Black Green Lantern, let me read more. And she's interesting. she's obviously meant to she's meant to look like Janelle Monáe, the writer and artist said that themselves. And her design, all in all, is just really cool. She's another well-designed character. But speaking of designs, I don't like Jonathan Kent's design. I don't like his suit. I feel like they should have stuck with his what is it called? What the hell? The suit that they gave him, like the older version of him already. I like that suit. I feel like they should have kept that or changed it a little bit. I don't like the way his suit looks. What do you think about his suit? I'm not a fan of it. I don't like it.
I love his suit, actually. I really, really love his suit.
I'm not a fan of it.
Like, his suit's probably one of my favorite Superman suits.
The one right
so
now?
Far. I really love it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm the Future State suit. Yeah, I love it.
Like, I'm not mad that
I love it so much.
Like, I don't mind it not having a cape. I just think that the rest of it is just, I don't know, it's odd. And it just doesn't work for me.
It works so well for me. It's everything I love about a suit. It's the designs, the angles, the colors cut in perfectly. I love it. Yeah, I love it. And it looks very utilitarian. Like, I really like it.
Despite the fact that this new Justice League is not supposed to fraternize, all of them fraternize constantly. And they have...
Except Batman.
Yeah, except for Batman
Except Batman, which I love, because it's the most typical Batman thing. Like, it doesn't matter who Batman is, he's not there. He's not sticking out.
Yeah, I love it. Green Lantern a little bit herself as well, because she decided to stay behind. She's more of the detective in this group than Batman is.
I wanted to talk about that. I want to talk about Green Lantern being more of a detective than Batman. I was talking to, because I have a group chat with a bunch of friends about like DC Comics and stuff, and we were talking about the Future State titles, and I found it very interesting how Joe is a better detective than Tim is, and from that, as well as the Future State Batman title, I think they're making Tim Fox a lot less cerebral than Bruce is, but a lot more physical. Like, when you read Batman, he's definitely putting a lot, like, he's fighting almost every single, he's either fighting or running the entire comic that he is in the Batman suit, and he's not doing a lot of, like, thinking or anything like that, which isn't a bad thing, because it's like, there's not a lot of space for him to think in the situations he's in those issues, but he's not,
it's also a good way to,
like, we haven't,
I was just saying, a good way to differentiate him from the type of Batman that Bruce was.
Oh, yeah, man, Bruce Wayne is very much so a thinker. Like, he'll outsmart every situation. And, like, Tim Fox is very clearly not stupid, like, from what we see. He's very clearly not stupid, but he's definitely a lot more physical than Bruce is. And even in Justice League, when we see him, and I swear to God, this is, like, one of the most Daredevil poses that I think about, especially, like, modern Daredevil. But when Yara and John are talking on the roof, and Joe's over at the crime scene, and Flash and Aquaman are over at her house, they are, like, they're all fraternizing except for Joe. Joe's doing work. Batman is sitting there, like, the top of his suit off, like, on the bed behind him. He's just sitting there with his head in his hands like this, like Sasuke pose. And it's just like, it's like the most Daredevil, like, getting beat up every night, but like going back out there because he's angry and just wants to keep going and punching people. Like, that's instantly what I thought of. And so I'm like, we don't have a lot of information on Tim Fox yet, but like inferring, like, from what we know about it, it's gonna be really interesting. I'm really interested. I'm really excited to see where he goes as a character.
Yeah, this really showed their dynamic, despite the fact, like I said, they're not supposed to be fraternizing. They all fraternize except for Joe and Tim. And even John came in and like told Jess to like scan the crime scene, and I forget which one of them said it, but they were like, "This isn't very like they don't work in like."
Yeah, that was it was Batman. That was another thing I really liked, is that Tim snuck up on Green Lantern, which I'm just like, anybody sneaking up on Green Lantern is insane. And he literally, like, he snuck up on her because she was like, "I told you not to sneak up on me." And I was like, yo, he just snuck up on Green Lantern, but he was like, "This isn't Barry Allen. This is everyone has a first crime scene." And I was like, yo, that's really crazy, because like, really not Barry Allen. Like, yeah, no, that I really like the differentiations they're going for with these characters.
Yeah, but I have one more thing to talk about because, like I said, that was all I read. I did watch some videos, so I guess I can talk about Batman. But before that, so I was I forget how I came upon it, but I randomly was on Twitter and saw a post about Nubia because she's gonna be in Immortal Wonder Woman, Diana's future state Wonder Woman comic. And someone was talking about, people always, use the term SJW to basically talk about something when they're upset about people getting representation. And I just want to talk about the use
Anytime
of
I
I
see
just want to talk
SJW in
about
a
the use of
comment,
that
I
word.
stop reading.
Yeah, I want to talk about the
Yeah.
use of that word because, like most words, it isn't inherently bad. It literally just means social justice warrior, which isn't a bad thing. People just try to use it as an insult when it's really not an insult. If anything, it's a compliment.
Yeah.
And whenever someone starts an argument with SJW, they're usually upset that a character isn't this white man. For whatever reason, they can't stand the idea that an interesting character that isn't white can exist. They can't stand the idea that white men aren't the only creatures that exist on this planet, and that due to the fact that a black person, a trans person, an Indian person, a Chinese person, like a Mexican person, we all exist. Naturally, there are going to be stories with us in it because we exist. Not writing a story about us would basically be pretending like white people are the only people on the planet and that other nationalities just don't exist, which isn't the case.
Yeah.
Same with gender, same with sexual identity. Like, these people exist and deserve to see characters that look like them on the big screen, in comics, on TV. It makes no sense for people to be labeled a phrase, a term that isn't even necessarily bad, but that people are trying to use in a negative way just because they want representation. And it's odd.
I
Like,
actually made a comment about that. Oh, God.
I was just going to say, legitimate discussions about representation for representation's sake talk about how, when a story adds a minority character simply for the sake of having a diverse cast rather than actually making an interesting, complex character that serves the story, that's when you can have an actual conversation about someone misusing representation. Nubia is not that. She's been around for a while, and she's probably going to get way more popular now that she's coming back. So,
Yeah.
she's going to probably get way more recognition, and then that person's going to have to look stupid and dumb when eventually she's probably in a movie or something. Because I can definitely see that character becoming popular once a wider audience of people learns of her existence.
Right. Yeah, no, I made a comment about that a while ago because there's one page was like made a YouTube video about like the Star Wars The High Republic character, and it was titled, or Star Wars The High Republic trailer, and it was titled like, oh, more SJW garbage, da 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 da. Like I made a comment, I was like, what makes it SJW? Because there are black people and women that are main characters. Like, do they not exist where you come from? Like, what?
Exactly.
And I'm like, I don't understand that. Like, there's literally like, it's just there is one black character that's a main character and one woman that's a main character. The other two characters are a white man and an alien. Like, I'm very confused to what your problem is. Like,
it's literally Star Wars, where a bunch of
it's literally Star Wars. Star Wars is like a vast galaxy full of like everybody. Like, I'm not understanding that.
Like, the weirdest place to be racist and xenophobic is in the Star Wars community. Like, how can you be racist and xenophobic in a world that is built on different species of aliens and races of aliens and things like that? Like, how can you be racist and xenophobic in that community? It's weird. Like you said, it's like they think we shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
Which is really like the case for a lot of them. They think we shouldn't exist in media. Like, if a person exists in real life, why wouldn't you put them in a show that is based off of something real or something similar to it? You know what I mean?
Right. It's again, anytime I see SJW in a comment, I just stop reading because I know it's gonna have like the mental like the comment's gonna be like a third grade level comment. I'm not reading the rest of that. As soon as I see that in the comment, I don't. That's dumb. I'm not reading it. Like,
yeah, it's an odd way of thinking that people need to get over. So
Yeah.
before we move on, you want to talk more about any of the other comics that you read? I actually want to ask you about Teen Titans. I might read it myself, but because
That one,
I just started using Comixology the first time, so I just
I
started comics there.
totally read my comics legally online. Yeah, that totally happens. But I didn't read Teen Titans. I forgot. That was like the only one I hadn't read.
And
I forgot about that because honestly, I keep forgetting Teen Titans is a future state title. I'm not a big like regular Teen Titans fan, honestly. So I'm just like most Teen Titans stuff just falls under my radar. Like I like most Teen Titans as characters, but like I generally don't like them as a team, and I don't know why.
yeah, I
But
like them, so I'm probably gonna read that myself. But yeah, since we're talking about it, actually, let's talk about what's that Robin series called? The one with Tim Eternal.
Robin Eternal.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I know
Okay, yeah, no, I want to talk about that one real quick. I wanted to talk about Dark Detective, but we'll talk about that one next. But yeah, okay, so Robin Eternal is. I want to like it so bad. I really do. I just don't understand what it is about Tim Drake and DC just disrespecting him like this. He Tim Drake, and I'm not even. Tim Drake is unequivocally the smartest Bat Family member. So we find out Bruce is dead. He's not really dead because he's actually Dark Detective, but the world thinks he's dead. The magistrate who's hunting vigilantes thinks he's dead. He was actually the first person that they killed, and at least they think they killed. So it's been at least a couple of years since Bruce's passing. So this enemy is around, and Tim hasn't done like absolutely all the research, found out all their weaknesses. Like that just seems really weirdly out of character for Tim, and he's also acting incredibly impulsive that in a way that Tim Drake just does not act. So I don't really understand because the Tim Drake I know, even the alternate universe Tim Drake, because like Tim Drake from the future, what was it in it was like Titans. No, it wasn't Titans of Tomorrow. It was like the evil Tim Drake after like current Tim Drake like died, but was secretly like trapped in like the place outside of time. There was the future version of himself that became Batman. It was like in that universe he became or he figured out the weaknesses to all the Justice League's rogues gallery in like 9 months when he was like 20 or something like that. And I'm like, okay, if he did that in 9 months for every single rogues gallery villain, you're telling, and he like just literally was thinking about it. He didn't have access to any of their files or anything. You think that Tim Drake won't figure out the weaknesses of people right outside his door that killed basically his father figure? Like, are you serious right now? Like, I'm not buying that at all. No, that's not happening. And then he makes like the most stupid, reckless mistake and gets killed and then brought right back to life. And I'm really glad this is only going to be a 2-issue miniseries because I wanted so badly to like this because Tim Drake is my favorite DC character, but I hate this. Like, I don't understand what it is about them not being able to write a good Tim story since 2009.
So I don't know if it varies, but I never understood how issues work until just now when I started using Comixology. And I'm not joking when I say I legally purchase my comics. um, but essentially, from what I understand, and like I said, I don't know if it varies because comics can be weird sometimes, American comics. But in comparing it to manga, which I read much regularly because they're linear stories and don't reboot every 5 seconds. An issue is the equivalent of a chapter when it comes to manga because they're around the same length. The only difference is that a chapter for manga is much cheaper than an issue for a comic. Despite the fact that they're the same length.
Oh no, I wouldn't even say they're the same length. Most manga chapters are longer than most comic issues, honestly.
Because manga chapters tend to be around 19 pages.
Yeah. Comic pages or comics, like regular comic issues, I think are around like 12, 13 maybe.
Yeah. And
I'd have to actually look that up.
Most manga are reliably bi-weekly, whereas issues can sometimes be monthly. So
yeah.
That's no, because I never understood the difference between issues and volumes, but now I get it. An issue is
Volumes are compiled versions of issues.
yeah, an issue is literally a chapter, and a volume is literally a volume. Because my mindset was always like a volume was a combination of individual complete comics, but no, a volume is basically the same thing a volume is when it comes to manga. All of the chapters, an issue is basically a chapter. An issue is a chapter, and a volume is all of those chapters in one book, which makes sense. Because I never understood it until I actually started purchasing comics the way I am now. So yeah, I finally understand it. And, you know, for anybody else out there, I hope you understand it now. If you were confused, just like me. And yeah, I'm probably about to finish reading Hawkeye and Matt Fractions right now.
Me too. It's, oh my God, I can't believe you haven't, bro. That's objectively the best comic book. I'm not joking. That's the best comic book I've ever read. And I read an unhealthy amount of comics. So yeah.
And it's still one of the best comics in terms of American comics that I've ever read.
Yeah.
So let's see.
Like there's an entire issue they do in ASL, and I was like, dude, what? Like it's, oh my God, it's great.
Yeah.
Okay, there are a few more things though, real quick with Future State. I'm gonna get into Dark Detective last, but you mentioned you saw a video for the next Batman. Was it the variant comics?
I saw it for both Dark Detective and Next Batman.
Did you watch the variant comics video, or was it somebody else?
I think I watched Comic Story for both of them.
Did he talk about the stuff that happened after the issue, like the side stories in the issue?
I'm not sure.
Okay, so at the end of the next Batman, there is a Batman of the Outsiders Future State mini story. That one is really interesting, actually, because like if you've been keeping up with current Batman of the Outsiders, a lot of the Outsiders characters are in it. Luke Fox, there's something really weird going on with Luke Fox that I don't like. It's like they're making it, and this is the thing, because actually Valiant Comics, no, not Valiant Comics, Valiant's an actual company, Variant Comics. They actually, Aaron Quinones or whatever his name is, actually made a really good point that DC should not have spoiled who the next Batman is, because in the next Batman issue, they're trying to make you think that it's Luke Fox, and they're doing a very good job of it.
I'm pretty sure the writer didn't plan for it to be spoiled.
I know for a fact they didn't plan for it to be spoiled. They're not. They don't mention him by name in Justice League. They don't show his face in Justice League.
In his first video, and his video of the next Batman, because he kept mistakenly saying, and he actually thought himself, because he kept saying it, that it was Luke Fox, despite the fact that basically whenever he read an article saying that Tim Fox was Batman, he automatically just put Luke in place of Tim every time he read an article. So when he was summarizing the comic, he kept saying Luke over and over again the entire video, and it wasn't until he did Dark Detective that he corrected himself and was like, I meant Tim, I kept saying Luke.
Yeah, no, because they shouldn't have spoiled it, because they do a really good job of making you think that it's Luke Fox. And in all the other DC Future State titles, because he's in, they're doing side stories in a lot of these. He's in a side story with Grifter, which is actually really funny because I haven't read Grifter in a lot, but I do like Grifter as a character. He's actually really cool. There's a Grifter side story in Robin Eternal, and if they actually stuck with Luke Fox being Batman, I may excuse this, but now that I know it's not Luke Fox, they're making him really incompetent, like Luke? Severely incompetent. Luke.
Okay.
They're making Luke really incompetent. Like in the Grifter side story, he gets caught in He gets caught in crossfire. He gets knocked out in one hit. He gets kidnapped by the magistrate. He's just caught lacking like every single time, like every opportunity. He's just caught lacking. I'm like, that's not the Luke Fox I know. The Luke Fox I know would not be falling for any of this, but he does, and I'm just like, and again, if they kept it a secret and that he was really Batman, I could reasonably be like, okay, maybe he's just like acting like incompetent so you can like get into the magistrate and everything. But no, that's not what they're doing at all. He's just like really incompetent, and I'm like, why?
That's wild.
But like, yeah. So in the Batman of the Outsiders, Katana is basically Duke. I almost said Dick Grayson. Duke Thomas is who's the Signal. He's trying to get basically everybody that wants to get out of Gotham, he's trying to get them out of Gotham. And so he's the number one most wanted from the magistrate. Um, and so they're trying to take him, arrest him, probably kill him at some point, like probably execute him. But they're trying to catch him, and they keep failing because Duke is just the best. And so he's like getting people out of Gotham because the magistrate has no jurisdiction over the bridge, like over this over one of Gotham's bridges. They have no jurisdiction over there. And so Duke is getting everybody out of Gotham. And then it was really cool because they were like, two magistrate soldiers kept like running over, and they were like, wait, you don't have jurisdiction over there. And he's like, nah, screw jurisdiction. That's our number one most wanted. He stepped like 1 foot over, and Katana in like a samurai Iron Man mech suit like swung down and started fighting. I was like, yo, that was awesome.
Is she like guarding the bridge?
What?
Is she like guarding the bridge? Why did she attack him so fast?
No, she found Duke because he's part of the Outsiders group, of course, and like the Outsiders are super close, like really, like basically like family. And so like she was on her way to go fight Caliber, who, spoiler alert for Batman and the Outsiders, was one of the Outsiders but wound up betraying the team. And so she was on her way to go look out for Caliber, but she saw Duke like driving over the bridge. And I don't remember what she said, but she dropped like a really cool one-liner when he was like, nah, she was like, this is our jurisdiction or something like that. And oh my god, it was super cool. And so she goes, and Maseo, who's the soul of her husband, because her soul takes the soul of whoever kills. The soul of her husband is actually speaking to her in the sword this time. And so she goes down, she fights Caliber, because Caliber is also working for the magistrate. She fights Caliber,
Metamorpho?
And a bunch of magistrate guards. What'd you say?
There's Metamorpho in there?
No, not yet. There's supposed to be another issue. I think like a second issue with Batman and the Outsider stuff in it. But she goes, she fights Caliber, she fights the guards, and they are making an escape because like a giant like thing of lightning comes down. And so it turns out Black Lightning at some point before Future State got turned into actual lightning.
That's interesting.
But it's actually kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie, it sounds dumb, but it's actually kind of cool.
Like Electro, and he's just turning into electricity?
He's basically like Electro. Like I was gonna say Dr. Manhattan, I forgot Electro existed. He's basically like Electro, but like way more powerful because he's like all the lightning at once.
He's just...
And
so in my brain, I'm imagining him just, as he travels around, he just comes in like a thunderstorm everywhere he goes. And it's just dark.
That's exactly what happens because it starts raining and everything.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it was super cool. I was like, yo, that was actually really cool to see.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that's what's happening there. And then apparently a bunch of Batman's villains are all working for the good guys now. And there are the Arkham Knights. And so they're a group of like knights, basically. It's Atomic Skull. Actually, that's a Marvel character. Whatever the DC version of Atomic Skull is, I don't remember his name. Two-Face.
I know what you're talking about. I'm also imagining him. I know what he looks like in my head. He has like green fire.
And he's a skull in his face and everything.
I don't know his name. It might be Atomic Skull. You might be right.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure Atomic Skull is Marvel. Let me look that up real quick. But it's Lady Arkham is the leader. Hold up. Atomic Skull.
Yeah.
Oh no, it is Atomic Skull.
It's Atomic Skull. I just looked it up too.
Okay, so yeah, then it's Atomic Skull, Clayface, Victor Zsasz, Killer Croc, Lady Arkham is their leader, and Two-Face is her like top lieutenant. And so they are fighting against the magistrate out of Wayne Manor, I think. Like they're using Wayne Manor as their headquarters. And so that's really cool. Like it's like the villains, the heroes, they're all uniting against the magistrate to fight the magistrate. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, then there's Dark Detective. And it turns out Jason Todd betrayed the Bat family, which I'm not really surprised.
Here's the thing. I was assuming that the entire time. I was like, I bet it was Jason Todd.
Yeah.
The whole time.
Like anytime they need like a Bat family supervillain, they always go to Jason Todd, which I don't really like because it's like
it keeps him from progressing by just keep reverting.
That's what I'm saying. Like either permanently keep him as a villain or let his character progress. Like I don't do one or the other. You can't have the best of both worlds. Like that doesn't no.
They keep going back and forth with his character, and I hate it because I like him. He's an interesting character.
I liked him as a villain. I liked him as a villain a lot more than I liked him as a hero. But as a hero, he was palatable in the New 52 because he wasn't in Gotham. He was part of the Bat family whenever they needed him, but he was still very much so a
Outlaw
killer.
is
Yeah, he was an outlaw. He was part of the Red Hood and the Outlaws for a reason, and I liked that because I was like, that I'm
also.
fine with
I think a lot of people did like it, but a lot of people also didn't like it. But when he had that costume change in the middle of Rebirth, we had like an actual hood, and he had like a bot.
Oh, I
Like,
hated that. I don't hate the costume so much. I really don't hate the costume. I just think it's a downgrade from his actual Red Hood costume. Like, I much prefer his actual Red Hood costume.
I liked it. I liked the way it looked. I think it looked.
I don't. Because, I mean, in my opinion, it's a lot less, what's the word I'm looking for? Not realistic. It's a lot less,
come on.
But I mean, like, that's the thing, though. He's supposed to be, like, the realistic one out of them, where he's, like, fully armored, using guns. He even has a helmet, like, that. He's supposed to be, like, the more militaristic version of the Batman. That just feels like that should have been his costume before he got the Red Hood costume. Because I'm, like, it seems like he's trying to go more, like, I'm trying to think of the word. I don't remember the word.
Well, let's just talk about Dark Detectives.
Yes. Okay. So we find out Jason Todd betrayed the Bat family. We find out the magistrate thinks they killed Batman. We find out that Bruce Wayne. Nobody knows where Bruce Wayne is, like, at all. Nobody knows where he is. But there are like a couple people who think he overdosed on drugs and stuff like that. But basically now he's on the run as Dark Detective away from the magistrate. We don't learn a lot about that in this. We just learn that he is on the run, and that the magistrate think that he's dead. But I'm really enjoying Dr. Detective so far. I really like his costume. It's like one of my favorite Batman costumes so far. Like, I really like that. It's really cool.
Future State has been interesting so far. I've been liking it.
Yeah, I love it.
Something that just popped in my mind, and and like naturally it was in my mind the whole time. But we talk about it all the time, and call me a social justice warrior all people want. But like, it's very diverse, and I love it.
Oh yeah, it's very diverse. Very diverse. It is very diverse.
Got a Brazilian Wonder Woman, a Black Batman, a Black Green Lantern. Even though we had one before, but one that isn't. Well, actually, she was military. Never mind. But we had a female a woman Aqua woman, and we have a non-binary Flash. So yeah, it's cool.
And that actually reminds me, the Flash is probably both the new Flash in the Justice League series and the Flash series for Future State. I'm not really a fan of either of those, mainly because it's like, I see reasons why the other characters replaced the characters that they did for like the legacy characters, but like, it's just like the whole Flash side of that is slightly irritating to me because they're making Wally a villain again.
Yeah, I hate
They're
it.
depowering the whole Flash family. They're like that.
I hate
the
it.
Flash side of DC Future State, in my opinion, is probably the only part I really don't like. Robin Eternal excluded.
Yeah, I hate when they keep doing that. They keep making Wally like a villain for whatever reason, and I'm just like, stop it.
Yeah, no, like, leave him alone.
You talked about it before when you were making your you said your Justice League and like 3 reserves, and how Wally would be the hope and light of the team.
Yeah, because that's what he's supposed to be, and they take that away. Like,
Wally, this dark character that becomes a villain and goes against everyone, and I'm like, please stop.
Yeah, just stop. Just quit it. Just quit it.
Going on to TV and film. First thing I want to talk about is Mortal Kombat. So I thought they were going to release a trailer, but they didn't. They just released stills. WB released a bunch of stills for a few of their shows. They showed some Space Jam, some Kong versus Godzilla.
That's still the dumbest idea to me.
What, King Kong versus Godzilla is awesome. I just love
it's a giant monkey versus the literal king of the monsters. I don't want to hear nothing. No, if he doesn't just atomic breath him to death, no.
Giant monsters fighting will always be fun to me. But yeah, and they also showed Mortal Kombat stills. I'm gonna put them up in the video when I edit it later.
They also showed like 3 seconds of footage from Mortal Kombat.
I didn't know that. I'm gonna have to check that out. Also,
it's in the trailer, the HBO Max trailer.
Yeah, I didn't watch that trailer. I just saw the screenshot. I'm actually gonna watch that right now. So they showed. They finally revealed, Louis Tan's character, his mystery character. He's essentially going to be the main character, and he's playing a character named Cole Young, who's basically a washed-up MMA fighter who has like a Mortal Kombat symbol as a birthmark on his chest. And he's basically going to be like the character that we see the story through the eyes of, like, which is weird. I think that could have just been Johnny Cage.
It could have been Johnny Cage. They should have just made an actual Mortal Kombat character be the main character, and I don't understand why
like,
they didn't.
For me, it should have been Sonya, Johnny, or Liu Kang. Like, that's usually
Those are the three main characters of Mortal Kombat. Like, just make it one of them as the main character. Like,
if anything, they actually could have made all three of them like the protagonists that they follow, and they switch between those three characters throughout the movie.
that worked fine in the 1990 Mortal Kombat movie. I know that's like a bad movie or whatever, but like they could have done that way better.
Yeah, you know, most people, especially people who like Mortal Kombat, enjoy that first movie.
Oh yeah, no, it's perfectly campy. Like it's perfect for Mortal Kombat.
Well, you know, I still think this movie's gonna be good. I just think it's weird that they didn't. It seems like Johnny Cage might not even be in it.
But if he's not, I'm gonna be so mad because Johnny's one of my favorite characters. Please don't have Johnny not be in it.
And I think that's weird. Yeah, Johnny Cage.
If Cole takes his place, I'm just automatically gonna be mad at the movie. Like
he's also one of my favorite characters. If he's not in it, I'm gonna be a little bit upset. People kept saying that Jax looks like Steve Harvey.
Because he does.
I'm not mad at his arms, but they're not the
arms. I was wondering how you were going to feel about his arms. I meant to ask you about that. I was wondering how you were going to feel about his arms.
I'm not mad at his arms, but they're still not the arms I want.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree that they should have just gone with the Winter Soldier arms instead. And then, like, there's, like, a giant, like, disc in the middle of it. And I'm like, what is that? Like, what purpose does that serve? Like,
that he can...
No, it wasn't even in his elbow. It was in his bicep. Like, I'm like... That makes no sense to me. Like, why?
I mean, that does make sense because your bicep is what pulls your arm up. So
there are so many better ways they could have it without using a wheel, though. That's why I'm saying. Like, there's so many better that would cost less money and look way more impressive. Like a giant metal. I'm sorry, I have a lot to say about everything, and like,
you know, still I'm not even cautiously optimistic. I'm just optimistic. I'm
cautiously optimistic for it.
I think that it could be better than the first one. Definitely the second one. But I think it can be better than the first one. But that doesn't necessarily mean good. Because the first one's an enjoyable movie, but in reality it's not the best movie.
Yeah, it's what I like to call a good bad movie. Yeah. Like I will always love that movie so much, but it's not a good movie. Like it's a good bad movie, but it's not good.
Continuing on this, TV and film, we're going to talk about Phase 4 of the MCU a little bit because I'm excited for stuff to get shaken up because nobody can really deny that the MCU is a bit formulaic. And that's also the reason why it works because they've made a formula that they can use.
They know works and they stick to it.
And they stick to it and it made for good movies and a cohesive timeline and story. But it's gonna shake up not just because of the multiverse stuff that's gonna happen in Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, and WandaVision, but also because of the TV shows will change things up again. A little bit in terms of the way they structure their stories because you can't really. They could, but they're probably not really gonna do it the same way they do the movies. And I feel like an example of how things were shaken up a bit in the last three phases where Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor Ragnarok came in and kind of did something, and even Ant-Man a little bit to an extent, did something different from what the rest of the movies do. And because of that, it added a bit more, a bit of variety into the universe. And a character that's going to do that really well, that's been confirmed to be R-rated and in the MCU is Deadpool 3. And he's really going to shake stuff up and make things goofy and weird. And it's going to be very different from any other movie in the MCU. And I'm glad it's going to be R-rated. And I'm just glad he's in the MCU because now he can literally just pop in any random movie whenever they want him to. Anytime they want him to. He could just be in the background. He doesn't even have to do anything. He could just be in the background. He could just pop into a Spider-Man movie and say something stupid and leave. Because that's what Deadpool is, and that's what he needs to be in the MCU. And I'm excited to see what they do and what they change up. Of course, I've mentioned 1,000 times, diversity is something that also will help change things up because you have to explore different cultures and not just the same, mostly white people cultures that they already, go through. So yeah. you have anything to say before we move on to video games?
Oh, there's an echo. I don't like that. Ew. Oh, the only, I don't know. There's not a lot of MCU projects that I'm excited for. Mostly the TV shows, and not even all of them. It's like after Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Loki, I don't really think there's a MCU show that I'm really excited for, like that I want to see. I'm also not. If it weren't for the rumors of Tom Holland, or not Tom Holland, of Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire and Charlie Cox being in Spider-Man 3, I really would not want to see that. But I do really want to see that. But I am excited to see the future of the MCU. And I'm just praying on everything that's going to be good.
Yeah.
So.
People were kind of getting, a bit tired of it because there was a lot of it at once. But because we got this year break, even though it was due to a bad situation, it kind of gave people some time to breathe. So now that we're getting back into the swing of things, it feels good. Seeing that that Marvel Studios logo at the beginning of WandaVision for the first time in like a year felt good.
Yeah.
Actually, the last time I saw it was when I watched, I think, Winter Soldier, which was, I watched that routinely at least a couple of times a year because that's my favorite movie. But yeah, so getting video games, we're going to start off with EA. Their reign of terror ends. No, I'm joking. They made some good games, but
every Star Wars game they made was great.
They made good games. It's not that they were bad. It's that I wanted more. I said that before in our Star Wars episode. They no longer have an exclusive deal with Star Wars, but they still will be making Star Wars games.
That's partially true. Their exclusivity deal ends in 2023.
Yeah, it ends, but because of that, they already have studios working on new games because those games will be out by the time the deal ends. So, two games. Oh, they also bring back Lucasfilm games.
Yes,
which is dope. They'll be basically running the games division of all of Lucasfilm's what are they called, properties, like the Indiana Jones games made by Machine Gun Games, who was famous for the Wolfenstein games, which is, I doubt it'll be Xbox exclusive because
that was one of the funniest things because I follow a lot of I follow one I don't remember what the page is called, but it's like it's basically like a PlayStation just like clowning on Xbox, and like obviously like I have fun with Xbox too, but it's just like it's fun to see like people clowning each other no matter what it is. And it was like what was it? It was talking about the Xbox. It was talking about Indiana Jones being an Xbox exclusive, and people are like, "Oh, y'all are just mad because we get Indiana Jones, we got HUD Uncharted," and people are like, "Are you joking right now? Uncharted is literally the best treasure hunting game of all time. Like Indiana Jones is gonna be lucky to touch it." Like,
yeah, not only do we get Uncharted, but we both, like both Xbox and PlayStation gets Tomb Raider. So like we got our fill of Indiana Jones.
More than had our fill. Like if you guys get in Indiana Jones, then like good, like take it because come on now, like that doesn't make any sense. But
we both like those treasure hunting type games. So I'm interested to see what they'll do. A lot of people are assuming like it could be first person, which would be stupid because it's Indiana Jones.
Yeah, I don't understand why they would make an Indiana Jones game in first person.
Because like this wouldn't be the first time that a studio that's known for making a first person game makes a third person game. Respawn made Fallen Order when they made Titanfall and Apex Legends before that. So I'm pretty
not just that, but almost every single Bethesda game has a third person option to it.
I don't think it'll be first person at all, but it could be an option to be first person or third person. That would be cool. But I think it probably will just be third person because to have a game like this be and exclusively first person would be weird.
Makes no sense.
But also Ubisoft, specifically Massive Entertainment, who has made The Division and The Division 2, are making a Star Wars game. And I know when we talked about it, you said that you wouldn't want Ubisoft to make a game. But I said I would because, Ubisoft making a game doesn't keep anyone else from making a game. So I'm interested to see what they would do. So
it's always more Star Wars content, and that's one thing. I will always take more Star Wars content, no matter what it is. I love Star Wars.
Even if some of it's bad, some of it's bound to be good.
Yeah, no, it's like even if the Star Wars content is bad, I will still take it because I love Star Wars. However, Ubisoft is very, very hit or miss with their games. Like incredibly hit or miss with their games.
I don't think they're hit or miss. I think they're mediocre or good. I think they make more mediocre games than they do really good games, but they don't really miss too often.
No, I gotta disagree
You know
with that.
what?
I would say
I think I would classify mediocre as a miss, actually. I think I would
I
classify.
wouldn't even say really mediocre. Like the only mediocre Ubisoft game I can think of off the top of my head, probably Watch Dogs 1. But like Watch Dogs 3, that was a pretty big miss in my opinion. Assassin's Creed Odyssey was a pretty big miss in my opinion.
Odyssey was a roaring success for them and like most people.
For them, but critically it was not well praised
A lot of people
at all. It was a fun game. Story-wise, it was not great. And even most of the fun comes from like the goobiness of it. Like literally like Spartan kicking people like 30 feet off a cliff. That is fun. That should not be.
It has a
That shouldn't be a thing.
It has an 83 Metacritic score and a 6.4 user score.
Yeah, that's not insanely great. It's not horrible, but it's not that's pretty average. Like that's not anything like good.
I'm gonna do some math real quick and make
Okay.
a definitive answer. So 84.
But yeah, no, that's not. Yeah, no, they've missed a lot.
Their average score.
That's not great as far as the game goes, though. Like if you look at like other games that like
that's
what?
Mediocre, though.
I count that as a miss. I count that as a miss.
I think that mediocre. I would classify mediocre as being a miss because if it's not good, then it's kind of a miss.
And so yeah, no, Ubisoft does miss. Like they definitely Assassin's Creed Unity. That game still gets clowned on, and a bit of it is unfair that it's getting clowned on, but like that game still gets clowned on. Like that game's failure was legendary, like in the gaming community. Like, so yeah, and I haven't played the Division games, but I've heard not so great things about the Division 2. So like, I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic for it.
Yeah, because we always see studios that make a certain type of game, they can make something completely different and it'd be amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see if they do something different. And, it's going to be, I forgot to mention, it's going to be open world Star Wars. Which, that's how I would like to consume Star Wars. Well, also, I want a hack and slash. It's no secret. I want a hack and slash Star Wars games really bad. I'm actually going to talk about some hack and slashes in a minute. But before that,
one thing I want to say is I want to ask you what era you want this game to be in, because I have technically three specific eras that I want it to be in, but I have one that like shines above the rest. So I want to ask you what you want it to be.
For me, I mean, honestly, with this game, I don't know I don't know what to assume. But you ask me what I want, but what I would want,
Yeah, I'm asking what you want because I don't even know what
I would want either Old Republic or High Republic.
Okay. High Republic is my number one most wanted era for this.
Number one for me is definitely Old Republic. You know this. I like.
Yeah, no, I know this. I still much prefer like High Republic. I'm not saying I prefer High Republic to Old Republic. I may actually, because a lot of Old Republic content wasn't great. There was a lot of good content in it, but a lot of Old Republic content wasn't great. So far, everything for High Republic that's come out so far has been astounding. And that's exactly so I just want more content in the High Republic, like as much content as I can get. And the game would be perfect.
Yeah, I think
that would be perfect.
Yeah, I think that High Republic would be great because it would be, a good stepping stone for gamers who like Star Wars content to get into that new era that they're beginning to start. Yeah, that's, yeah. You have anything else?
Other than that, I would want it to take place in the... I don't know that I want it to take place in the Clone Wars, although I am... I have heard like some like Clone Wars concepts for an open world game that I'd be excited for. But I would want it to either take place during the Star Wars Rebels era and like in between episodes 3 and 4, or during the original trilogy. The original trilogy is still my favorite era, or like the in-between 3 and 4, and then the original trilogy, that's like my favorite era of Star Wars still, and nothing's going to dethrone that. So like I still want.
I wanted to mention this actually. I should have mentioned this in the Star Wars episode, but surprisingly enough, they still haven't made a stormtrooper centric show or movie, and it's like it feels like a missed opportunity. Like imagine a show that like takes place. I mean that the main characters are like a squad of death troopers, and you actually see stormtroopers being the supposedly actually badass characters that they're meant to be, especially death troopers who are far above regular stormtroopers.
Yeah.
I would love a show about death troopers. I think that that would be cool, and to see
That'd definitely be interesting. I'd watch that.
I think that that's a missed opportunity that they haven't had shows or movies, specifically, visual content, film content that focuses on those characters. Yeah, I think that would be cool. But moving on, next week we have some exciting news that's going to happen, and I'm excited for 5 p.m. EST, 2 p.m. PST, January 21st, Thursday, next week, Resident Evil Village event. They're going to be showing off gameplay, a new trailer, and the little sizzle reel they showed for the announcement of the event next week. They showed a character that they showed in other trailers, but I never paid attention to, and now the internet is going crazy in thirst over this character. It's basically this 10-foot tall vampire lady. Because of course they're both vampires and werewolves. Resident Evil Village. I'm excited. I'm so excited for this game.
I'm honestly not at all excited for this. I didn't even know it was a thing until I saw the announcement.
Only because we haven't seen a trailer for God of War Ragnarok yet. My most anticipated game for this year is Resident Evil 8. Only because we haven't seen a trailer for for God of War. Once we see a trailer for God of War,
I forgot all the games that are coming out this year.
Once we see a trailer for God of War, that's going to change for me completely. But until then, it's Resident Evil 8. But yeah, I'm just gonna. They might also show a little bit of behind the scenes of the reboot movie that they're doing. Also, probably a new trailer for the animated show Infinite Darkness, and maybe an announcement of the RE4 remake. But I'm gonna a spoiler alert for Resident Evil 8. There were some leaks, and there was one leak. I only looked at one leak because I didn't want to spoil it for myself. But that's because somebody posted a video. It was an unfinished cutscene, but it was a cutscene from the game featuring that vampire lady. And basically, the character you play as Ethan it's in first person, by the way, for anybody who doesn't know or hasn't played Resident Evil 7. He reaches for a knife, and then like the 10-foot tall vampire lady like grabs him, and like her nails extend and she stabs him, and then he stabs her with the knife, and then she like throws him out a window. He lands on like the roof, and then she transforms into a dragon. Like an infected looking, how the infected creatures in Resident Evil look. She turned into like a dragon version of that.
I looked up RE. As soon as I type in RE, I see 8 vampire lady as the first thing I'm suggesting.
You see what she looks like and why people are raving. I'm gonna cut that part out. I might keep that in.
Yeah, I can definitely tell.
But yeah, vampires and werewolves. I'm happy. I've always wanted just a game like Resident Evil with vampires and werewolves. But even better, I get Resident Evil with vampires and werewolves. So I'm happy for that. So the last thing I'm going to talk about when it comes to video games is you mentioned it. You mentioned it a little bit in that you what was the game you said? Bloodborne. It was in PS Plus. So it was one of the free games of the month, right? Or something?
Well, Bloodborne wasn't. No, Bloodborne I had to buy. Greedfall is one of the free games. Greedfall is the other free game of the month, which, by the way, is garbage. I don't understand why anybody played Greedfall. That game has some of the worst combat mechanics I've ever seen in a game. I was so excited to play this game because it has like you can customize literally everything in that game. I was so excited. I couldn't get past the first 2 hours. That game.
Probably, I assume like your interest in that came from your interest in Destiny. You thought it was going to be a melee version of Destiny, but it wasn't.
Oh, no. I didn't think it was going to be a melee version of Destiny. I was expecting, like... I actually don't know what I was expecting, but it somehow failed to meet every expectation I had, and I don't think I had any expectations about that game. I was just excited to customize a sword, like completely customize like every little intricate detail on the hilt, every little intricate detail on the handguard, every little intricate detail on the blade. I was excited to do that. I didn't even get to that part. Because the game is boring and has horrible content combat and exploration. It does have horrible content. The entire game is just why is this a game? Like
yeah, I didn't really care for that game to begin with, and I had a feeling it was going to be bad, honestly, just from looking at it. I was like, I'm not going to like that, and it's probably not going to be good. But speaking of, those free games, so like I said, I watched Tombstone, and in watching Tombstone, I just had the urge to play Red Dead Redemption 2 because the cowboy was in me. That sounds weird, but so the only reason I didn't have my Xbox was because my little brothers had it because they didn't have a game console, and they recently got a PS4 Pro, so I snatched my Xbox back immediately. So I went up there and got my Xbox, and when I originally got my Xbox, their UI right now is much better than it used to be, but back then it sucked. It was garbage, and also it required internet to do absolutely anything. So I had to set that up, and I set it up horribly. So I ended up having to just straight up reset my Xbox. I hard reset my Xbox, made a new Microsoft account and everything. And when I did that, first thing I did was I went to download the Virgil DLC for Devil May Cry 5 so I could finally play that because I only had that on my Xbox, and I didn't want to buy it again for PlayStation. I already had it. So I went to do that, and it prompted me. It said you could get Game Pass Ultimate for 3 months for $1. And I said, oh, really? For $1? Well, don't mind if I do. And I did it. And we've talked about how the one place that Xbox edges PlayStation out is accessibility. Specifically in terms of giving people access to video games and just a wide array of video games. And boy, were we right. And it is one thing to say it, it is a different thing to experience it. Oh my God, I see why people love Xbox so much. I'm still going to be PlayStation till the day I die, PlayStation Nation. But boy, do I see why people love Xbox. Game Pass Ultimate is the greatest thing, the greatest subscription I've ever subscribed to. It's better than Netflix. It's better than Disney Plus. It is fantastic because it, in a lot of ways, is like a time machine. Because we talk about how with PS Now, you get access to a bunch of PS2 games, PS3 games, and a few PS4 games. But you can it's weird. You can download PS2 games, but you can't download PS3 games, and it's ridiculous. And of course, naturally, you can download PS4 games. But that's you have to play those games through that subscription service. And with PS3 games, you can't download them, and there's no option to buy them outside of PS Now. They just don't exist outside of PS Now for individual purchase and download. With Xbox, as you know, and of course I am now experiencing, they have tons of 360 games available that come with Game Pass and are available for purchase outside of Game Pass. One of which I purchased was Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance because it's one of my favorite hack and slash games ever. That game is fun as I don't know what. The music also is fantastic. It's my second favorite video game soundtrack of all time. It was number one until I played Persona 5. And on Game Pass, the games that I downloaded that come with Game Pass that, I just have with Game Pass, and once Game Pass ends, I won't have it anymore, unless I continue to pay for it, are Ninja Gaiden 2, which is also another one of my favorite hack and slash games. It's one of the reasons why it was that God of War and Devil May Cry 4 that made me go, hack and slash is my favorite video game genre. Nothing tops it for me personally. Those were the 3 games that did it for me. So I'm playing Ninja Gaiden 2, and it is so fun. It's also difficult. It's the sequel of one of the most difficult 360 games and one of the most difficult games in general ever, which is the first Ninja Gaiden. The first Ninja Gaiden reboot. So it has been great. It also comes with EA Play, which basically is just you get every single EA game that was ever made, like all of them. The Star Wars games, the Madden, all of that. You get all of it. Every single EA game that was ever made. And it's fantastic. The first game I downloaded in terms of EA games was Skate 3. Because I told you I like skateboarding games. And they're making a Skate 4, but I wanted to play Skate 3. It was fun. I played it for a little bit. I also downloaded Need for Speed Heat because I wanted to play a racing game because I hadn't played a racing game in a very long time. I'm probably not going to play it again. I also downloaded, and I just remembered that it's definitely done downloading now, is Sunset Overdrive, and I'm probably going to play that later. And another one, what was another one? I was about to download, was Dead Space 2, because it's been a while since I played Dead Space 2. And I never played the full game because I forget what game it was, but it was like some game I got came with a demo for Dead Space 2. And me and my brothers would replay the Dead Space 2 demo like 1,000 times. And now I think I'm finally going to just straight up play all of Dead Space 2. But yeah, it is amazing. And it just makes me go like, PlayStation, you lacking, you slacking. You lacking and you slacking. Like, not only does it comes with all of these things, but also if you have Game Pass, regular Game Pass, not just Game Pass Ultimate, which I have, that comes with EA Play and a few other benefits. But with regular Game Pass, you get access to hundreds of games, 100 plus games. And when any game made by an Xbox-owned studio comes out, day one, it's on Game Pass. Day one. Now, I don't think PlayStation needs to do this or that they should because they aren't as wealthy of a company as Microsoft, so they probably can't even afford to do it. But I think it would be smart if, first off, they combine or at least make a new subscription service or maybe just rebrand PS Now into something similar to Game Pass. One, make PS3 games purchasable and downloadable outside of PS Now. Two, maybe like a good 2-3 months after a PlayStation exclusive game comes out, make it available on PS Now. And also just add more PS4 games to PS Now. And they would have something as dope as Game Pass. Because Game Pass is incredible. I can't believe how good it is. And I'm having so much fun with all the games that I'm playing. It's really fun. Like, people make a joke and say that the Xbox Series S, specifically the one without the disk drive, is like a Game Pass machine because you just buy it, you get Game Pass, you automatically get access to hundreds of games, which is like, yeah, that's true, and it's great, especially for just little kids who just want to play random games. They just get access to a lot of games for like it's the regular price. Regular Game Pass $10 a month. $9.99. There's a level above that. No, the other version is for PC. No, and then the level above that is Ultimate, which comes with EA Play, and that's, I believe, $15 or $13 dollars a month, and it's just phenomenal. And every time I play it, I'm like, man, what you doing, PlayStation? Why are you doing this to us? We could have something so much better. And I've said it before, they're taking advantage of us because they know that they it's like a drug. They gave us a little taste of those exclusive games, and you can't go back. You got to stick with it because they're so good. It's addictive, and it's horrible. But the very last thing I have to talk about after all of that is new segment, Untapped Potential. I have a new one. So I thought about it, and this is about Wonder Woman 84, and a change I think would have been dope. So, again, this is going along with Maxwell Lord being his comic book counterpart self, right? So, what if, at some point, he hired Deathstroke to fight Wonder Woman, to either take her out or, like, stall her. And this was, like, our first actual Deathstroke fighting introduction to Deathstroke in the DCEU. Because we already had him with, what's his name, Joe Manganiello, or however you pronounce his last name, playing him. And this could have been the first time we actually saw him. I was thinking,
could have been a younger Deathstroke too.
Yeah, I was literally like going to sleep. I also didn't even take into consideration that it took place in 1984. But you're right, we would have a way younger Deathstroke. This could be like Deathstroke at the very beginning of his career as Deathstroke. But imagine if he hired Deathstroke. But also, we could just, even if that wasn't possible, we could pretend like it's not in 84. Because like you said, we're talking about a better version of the movie. So maybe it's not even in 84. But Deathstroke, and this is the only scene he would be in, but just Deathstroke fighting Wonder Woman. Even though she would overpower him eventually, just him being basically, Deathstroke, being kind of like Batman and having a bunch of traps around to help him fight her because he knows she's stronger than him. But like, I think that would have been cool to just have a little scene where Deathstroke comes in because Maxwell Lord hired him and he fights Wonder Woman. He's fought her in the comics before. It would have been dope. I think it would have been an interesting fight, and it would have been a cool scene. And it just popped in my head when I was trying to go to sleep, and I was so upset. I think it was last night. I was trying to go to sleep, and then I just got up. Was like, I gotta write this down. I gotta add this to my notes, otherwise I'll forget. That could have happened. It could have been cool. Man, I'm kind of upset now. Like, I don't think this would have popped up in anybody working on those movies' heads other than me, and I'm not working on those movies. If I was there, I would have said Deathstroke. Deathstroke, just like one 5-minute scene, just Deathstroke fighting Wonder Woman. Then he loses and we cut. He never comes back until like another movie. It would be cool if he just occasionally popped up in movies because he was hired by somebody to fight whoever like the main character is. But yeah, how do you feel about that?
I think it'd be interesting.
Yeah,
I definitely think it'd be interesting.
I wouldn't want him to, I wouldn't want him to be interjected as like a third villain because we know how that goes when they add too many villains in a movie. But just for him to be in a short little scene, pop up, to be like his more, not literally like his more comedic counterpart in Deadpool, but in the sense that he would pop in as a cameo like Deadpool does.
Yeah, no, that'd be cool. They need to redo Wonder Woman 84. They need to redo.
I don't think they need to redo it. It's like the Star Wars sequels. It's done. It happened. We just move on.
No, I mean they just need to redo the entirety of the DCEU.
Yeah, definitely that. Honestly, I think they need to just get rid of it and do what they're already doing and just making individual movies. And even though with Batman they're making their own little Batman universe, that's fine. Let's do that. Because I think the thing about Wonder Woman is there are a lot of really interesting characters in her world to introduce. You got the entire Greek pantheon. You got Donna Troy. You got what's her name? Cassie
Sandsmark, yeah.
Cassie Sandsmark. You got Artemis Croc. You got Nubia. Most recently we got Yara Flor. She could even be in the universe in some shape or form. Like, you have an interesting cast of these Amazons, and of course the Greek pantheon as a whole. And like how I said, I like the kind of brighter tone that they had with the second movie in terms of the way they filmed it. That could work with the whole going further into Greek mythology and having her go to like Olympus and actually go to these very mythological places, like going to Hades. Like, I feel like they need to. That's the problem. I feel like that was the biggest problem with this movie. They didn't. I feel like they're missing the opportunity to really expand on her world. They're really missing that opportunity because I feel like they're too busy trying to make a universe when they don't need to. And if they stuck to making individual movies and just rebooted it and had Wonder Woman in her own universe, we could see these other Greek characters and these other Amazons that are really interesting characters. And I think that would be.
I really don't even like the Amazonian characters that much, but like they just they try to push too hard too fast, and then now they know that it hasn't worked. Instead of going back to the drawing board completely, they're trying to backtrack everything, and I'm like, don't do that. Just stop.
Yeah, you do it all the time in the comics. Just blank slate, start anew. If anything, make a movie like Justice League Dark and have everybody die and reboot it. Like, do something. Like, they could, if they wanted to, they could make some random movie where everything gets restarted. They could do that.
They're pulling the Marvel Comics card right now where they don't reboot anything and just keeps going and going and going and going. Marvel, I want to say Marvel needs a reboot, but Marvel's doing good right now. I wouldn't say Marvel needs a reboot.
But yeah,
Marvel has not had one reboot, dude. That's a weird thing to think about. And DC has a reboot like once every 10 years.
But it's still kind of weird seeing like characters like Spider-Man, who's been around since the 60s, but he's still like in his early 30s now. Like he's That's close to 30. Like that's close to 30. He's like, there's still like he's not a teenager anymore, but he's still in his 20s.
It's 1 year in the Marvel universe, or no, 1 year in no 1 year in the Marvel universe is 4 years in the real world. That's the timeline that they've gone with.
That's fair, but still,
Yeah,
no, it's weird. I still, they're gonna do something different with Damien after Future State, but I want to see an older Damien. We see older Damien now and again. Like there was an older Damien when he's like the demon's head and Batman,
Batman Beyond.
but we don't see an older Damien very often. I want to see an older Damien, at least older teenager Damien, if not adult, because we keep getting this little, very short, like I don't even know how old he is, like 12 or something.
He's like 14.
Like yeah, super young Damien. Like let's give us like a 17-year-old Damien.
I'm fine with 14-year-old Damien in main universe. I just feel like I would like they don't utilize characters that could benefit most from an alternate universe in alternate universes.
I think
It's
they.
always like the main character. It's always like Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman in in alternate universes. When I'm like the characters that should get capitalized most in alternate universes just get pushed to the side in alternate universes as well as the main universe. Like
Exactly.
I'm like we can't win.
I think sometimes, despite the fact that they reboot and constantly making new universes, they don't take advantage of the universes they create.
They don't.
Like there's so many interesting universes that they've created within their multiverse, but they don't use them, and it's
Yeah.
odd. It's very odd. Like I mean, off top, the first one that came to my mind was Earth Two. Both the original and the New 52 version with like Valzad and all of that. Like they don't like Earth 2 is an interesting world, both the one with like the Justice Society and the one with Valzad in it.
I want more Earth 1 comics. Like Earth 1 is maybe I'm not going to say objectively, but like it's the best critically received universe so far. And I feel like this is what Zack Snyder wanted to do with his universe because Earth 1 is very dark and very grounded and they're definitely different versions of the characters that we know, but they aren't bad. They're actually really good and we're seeing them become closer to are like the Earth Prime counterparts that we know and love. And we're starting to see that a lot more. If Zack Snyder were to actually like care about the characters that he was writing movies for and like actually did research into like the Earth 1 comics, I feel like the movies would not be that bad. Like they'd actually be pretty good.
Yeah. Um, well, going on hour 30. Need to wrap this up, So, don't forget. I'm skipping
Like,
it. Oh,
subscribe.
this must be get to the end. I start blanking out and I'm like, okay, let's get this over with. But like, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel if you want to see more storytelling content, and to click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post. You can follow me, Dijon Mustard, at Dijon_Mustard _432 on Instagram, on Twitter, Dijon_432. You can find Amir at T_H_N_Amir. I'm surprised
I'm not putting up my hand this time. I'm not putting up my hand this time.
on Instagram. And you can follow the Mustardcast itself on Instagram at the_mustard_cast and on Twitter at the Mustardcast. So yeah, I'm Dijon.
I'm here.
Peace.